Have you ever noticed how the constant noise around us makes everything feel heavier? What if we told you that a simple Japanese philosophy could completely change how you experience quiet moments? What if silence wasn't something to fear, but something that could actually bring you peace? The day everything got quieter. We remember the exact moment things shifted. Picture this. We're sitting in our apartment, surrounded by stuff we'd collected over the years. The TV's playing in the background, our phone keeps buzzing with notifications, and there's this weird humming sound from all the electronics we never really paid attention to before. And honestly, we felt exhausted without even doing anything. That's when we stumbled across something called Japanese minimalism. And it wasn't just about throwing away old clothes or organizing our closets. It went way deeper than that. The Japanese approach to minimalism isn't really about having less stuff, although that's part of it. It's more about creating space in your life for what actually matters. And one of the biggest things we discovered was silence. Not the awkward kind of silence that makes you want to fill the space with words, but the kind that feels like a warm blanket on a cold day. The kind that lets your brain actually rest for once. What makes Japanese minimalism different? So, here's the thing about Japanese minimalism that caught our attention right away. Western minimalism often focuses on aesthetics. You know, those perfectly white rooms with one plant in the corner that you see on social media. But Japanese minimalism comes from a completely different place. It's rooted in Zen Buddhism and has been part of the culture for centuries. There's this concept called ma in Japanese culture, and it completely changed how we think about empty space. Ma isn't just about physical emptiness. It's about the space between things, the pause between words, the silence between sounds. It's considered just as important as the things themselves. Think about traditional Japanese rooms with their clean lines and minimal furniture. Every object has a purpose, and there's this beautiful breathing room around everything. The silence isn't accidental, it's designed. Another principle that really hit home for us was wabi-sabi, which celebrates imperfection and simplicity. It taught us that we don't need everything to be perfect or filled up. Sometimes the beauty is in what's missing, in the quiet spaces we usually try to cover up with noise or clutter. Our uncomfortable relationship with silence. Before diving into this whole minimalism thing, we had a pretty rocky relationship with silence, and I'm betting many of you do too. Whenever things got quiet, we'd immediately reach for our phone or turn on some music or find something, anything, to fill that space. According to research from the University of Virginia, people would rather give themselves small electric shocks than sit alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes. 15 minutes, that's wild when you think about it. We live in a world that's basically designed to keep us distracted every single second. There's always another video to watch, another song to play, another notification pulling at our attention. The average person picks up their phone around 58 times a day. We'd gotten so used to constant stimulation that actual silence felt almost threatening. But here's what we learned through Japanese minimalism. That discomfort with silence is actually telling us something important. It's showing us how disconnected we've become from our own thoughts and feelings. When we can't handle being alone with ourselves, that's a sign something needs to change. The first steps into silence. Starting our journey with Japanese minimalism and silence wasn't some dramatic transformation overnight. We began with something super simple. We picked one room in our home, just one, and started removing things that didn't serve a real purpose. Old magazines we'd never read again, decorative items that just collected dust, extra furniture that made the space feel cramped. As the physical clutter decreased, something unexpected happened. The room got quieter, not just in terms of actual noise, but in the way it felt. There was less visual noise, less stuff demanding our attention, and in that newfound space, silence had room to exist. We started spending mornings in that room without any devices. No phone, no laptop, no TV playing in the background, just us and the quiet. The first few times were, honestly, uncomfortable. Our brain kept wanting to reach for something, check something, do something. But we stuck with it. starting with just 5 minutes and gradually building up. The Japanese have this practice called forest bathing, or shinrin-yoku, where you simply spend time in nature without any goal or distraction. We adapted this idea, creating our own version of silence bathing right at home. We'd sit, sometimes with tea, and just let our mind wander without forcing anything. What silence actually taught us? After a few weeks of embracing this minimalist approach to both our space and our sounds, things started clicking in ways we didn't expect. Silence became less like an empty void and more like a friend we'd been ignoring for years. We noticed our thoughts became clearer. When you're not constantly bombarded with external input, your internal voice gets a chance to actually speak up. Ideas that had been buried under layers of noise started surfacing. Problems that seemed complicated suddenly had simpler solutions. There's actually science backing this up. A study from Duke University found that 2 hours of silence per day prompted cell development in the part of the brain related to memory. Our brains literally need quiet time to process information and form new neural connections. But beyond this science, there was something more personal happening. In the silence, we started noticing things we'd been missing. The sound of rain against the window, birds chirping in the morning, even our own breathing. These tiny details that usually get drowned out by all the noise we surround ourselves with. Japanese minimalism taught us that life doesn't need a constant soundtrack. Sometimes, the most beautiful moments are the quiet ones.
Silence in a noisy world. Now, we know what you're thinking. This all sounds great, but how do you actually make space for silence when the world is so incredibly loud? Modern life doesn't exactly encourage quiet contemplation. We've got cities humming with traffic, open offices buzzing with activity, and technology that keeps us plugged in around the clock. Here's what we've learned. You don't need to move to a monastery or completely disconnect from society. Japanese minimalism isn't about extremes. It's about being intentional. We started creating what we call silence pockets throughout our day. Maybe it's the first 10 minutes after waking up before checking our phone. Maybe it's our commute home without any podcasts or music playing. Maybe it's sitting in our minimalist room for 15 minutes before bed. These small pockets add up in ways that genuinely surprised us. Even in noisy environments, we can carry that sense of internal quiet with us. It's less about controlling external noise and more about not letting it control us. The minimalist mindset helps here too. When we stopped trying to fill every moment with something, we found that silence naturally had more room to exist. We also set boundaries with technology, which honestly felt impossible at first. But inspired by Japanese principles of simplicity, we designated tech-free zones in our home. The bedroom became a sanctuary of silence. No screens, no notifications, just space to wind down and be present with the quiet.